Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 25 of Smite Talk. My name is Octane Pro, and I am joined by my co-caster here. We do have G.25. How's it going, buddy?
What's going on, Octane? Another beautiful Sunday.
I
Not
know.
a perfect Sunday, but a beautiful Sunday.
That's right, for sure. So, yeah, it's a good Sunday. Had a lot of fun today. We had a lot of the esports events going on. On top of that, we also had some other cool stuff. We just finished up a show there with F. Dot and Wolfie, so that was a blast and a real good time. So we're gonna go ahead and jump in, and I'll allow you. I'll throw it your way. What is this show about? What is this show about, FG? What do you got? Sell it to our viewers.
This is my favorite show of all time, and of course I am biased, but you know what? That's what it is. That's what it is.
That's right.
This show is Smite Talk. This gives you the opportunity to come in and speak your mind, because you always hear everyone else. You hear Drybear's opinion, you hear DM's opinion, you hear F Dot's opinion, and he's gonna force it on you. Let me tell you. But this gives you an opportunity to dial in on the raid call. Check it out in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. Download a raid call, dial in that number. You have the opportunity to actually speak your mind, tell us your opinions, be heard by more than just your friends and your mom when she's behind you watching you play Smite and telling you to go wash the dishes. This is your opportunity to shine. It's all you.
That's right, guys. So this is kind of like your traditional radio channel, kind of like what FG had talked about there. We're going to go ahead and talk about a few different things. And you guys can call in any time and talk about what we're talking about, or go ahead and bring up something a little bit different. So the information's down below. This is also available on iTunes too. So if you guys are like, oh, this sounds great, I don't have a chance to check it out right now, I'll check it out later. It's on iTunes. Check out the audio version. Shout outs to everybody who's checking this out on iTunes. Love you guys. And then it's also available on YouTube. So if you guys want to check it out a little bit later, you can feel free to. So we got some cool stuff going on this week for sure. But why don't we kind of dive into our first subject, and I will let you take this away, FG.
So the first topic of today's show is something that I've been kind of thinking about all week. We spent a lot of time talking about the gods on the far ends of the spectrum, right? Yeah. We spent a lot of time talking about Scylla and Osiris, and then we spent a lot of time talking about Arachne. And we just kind of forget about those gods in the middle. And I mean, I really don't have a set focus for this, but what I want to do is I just want to focus on just one god just randomly, and let's just talk about that god. Okay. How they fit in the meta, what they're good at, what they're bad at. Just awesome. Open discussion. If you don't want to talk about this god in particular, you can talk about anybody who you want. But today, I chose Agni.
Who?
Agni.
Who?
The man with the fire. So let's just talk about Agni for a second. Yeah. He is primarily played in the mid, right? I feel like he has probably one of the most balanced kits in the game. For a long time, he was the only mage in mid that had an escape until Scylla came around. Okay. He's also one of the rare mages that has a free mana ability with his ultimate. If you're not familiar with his ultimate, I'm going to forget how many seconds it takes. I want to say it's 15 seconds? Every 15 seconds, maybe?
I like how your voice increases. It's every 0.8 seconds. Or no, I'm sorry.
No.
He can summon one every 0.8 seconds. You're talking about the rain fire, right?
No, when it regens.
Oh, it regens every 20 seconds.
Every 20 seconds. Yeah, so every 20 seconds, this man gets a free fireball for no mana. It's the best poke. It's probably the best way to secure mid camps out of most mages. I mean, it's probably arguable, but it's probably one of the best ways to clear the mid camps while just staying in mid. I'll definitely say that. And the fact that he is probably one of the safest mages. He has a rough 1 through 4, I believe. His 1 through 4 is kind of rough. But I feel like Agni is just one of the most balanced mages in the game. And what I really want to see with Agni, I feel like he would be great in solo. And I haven't done it yet because I'm level 30, and then I'm scared to queue up and do something wrong.
Okay.
But I feel like Agni would be really, really good in the solo lane just because of the fact that he is so safe down there, and he can use that blue buff to just spam his abilities. He can just spam his fireballs because those are free, and he can just spam his other abilities because now he has blue buff. So I don't see anyone playing him in solo lane. Send it out to the chat if anybody has a real reason why he's not there, or maybe just no one. Maybe I'm on to a gold mine. Maybe. I won't hold that against myself.
Yeah, I mean, my introduction to Agni, and I'll kind of tap on that first, is, I started playing August of 2012, so quite a ways back, to be honest with you. And when did you start playing FG? Do you remember?
I started playing 2013 February.
Okay. So playing back then, Agni was definitely one of the necessary gods for mid. Like he was one of the gods for mid back then. And you would see him playing against other gods like Ra and stuff like that. And Agni has come a long way, but what's really pleased me about Agni, we're focusing on Agni right now, guys, because Agni is one of those gods where he's come such a long way. He hasn't really had any major changes to him yet, and he doesn't need it. His kit to me is perfect the way it is. It does the necessary damage in team fights that are necessary, but he can also go ahead and hold his lane rather well. I always, to be honest, Agni's like my go-to god when I'm playing mid. At some times the meta has shifted where like Poseidon, he was very strong in mid. Hell shifted as well in mid as well. Now you're kind of a little bit all over the place with some of the more well-known gods, but Agni is definitely a god which I love playing. And believe it or not, like when I first started playing Agni, his one, there was that delay with the combustion. So you literally had to throw down combustion first, then do rain fire on top of it. You couldn't do rain fire combustion real quick. Like you couldn't do that combination. And Agni has come such a long way, and he has to be one of my favorite mages out there. I actually had the opportunity the other day to play him in Siege, and I do a lot of viewer games on my own channel, and it was a custom Siege. So I did 5 versus 5. I'm still an advocate for 5 versus 5 in Siege. And I love roaming in Siege with Agni because it is so dangerous to engage from jungle into lane as Agni, and you could do so much damage, and the stun's available with Agni. It's so much fun. But yeah, that was kind of my story along with Agni and where I see him now. Is he still viable? Yes. Do we see him used as often in like competitive play? No. But you still see him a ton in like casual and ranked. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, his skill ceiling is fantastic too. He's probably one of the first gods that just had the gap between a brand new Agni player and a person that's been playing it for legendary status, whoever that guy was. Remember when the Smite launch tournament came out and they showed those stats about that guy that only played Agni? That's like the only god he played.
Oh yeah.
The skill ceiling between him and someone that's brand new is just wow, just crazy big.
It really is. So we're gonna go ahead and start to accept some calls, guys. We got quite a few people hanging out in raid call here. This show will go to 10 p.m., so which is about an hour and 20 minutes. We'll try to take as many calls as we can. We're gonna have a few other topics as well, but call in about anything Smite related that you want to talk about. You want to bring up something from last show that we talked about. You want to touch on some few other things. Go ahead and call in. We're definitely eager. It doesn't have to be on Agni, doesn't have to be on a specific god, but let's talk about Smite. All right, so let's go ahead. We're gonna bring in Muffin here in just a second. Let's see. Ready and waiting. I'm not sure which person I'm supposed to take first. On deck for live show.
I guess
Base Nutella. Yeah, I guess Base Nutella is the one on deck here. So let's go ahead and bring in Base Nutella. Then we're gonna go ahead and bring in Muffin after that. And let's go ahead and bring them in. So Base Nutella, how's it going? Welcome to Smite Talk.
Hey, what's up? It's working Nutella, actually.
Oh, it says Base Nutella in raid call.
I know. I'm sorry to trick you out like that.
Alrighty. So what do you want to talk about tonight? It's your show. What do you want to talk about?
It's not his show. It's not his show.
Okay, MG. All right, MG. Anyway, my question is on esports.
Go for it.
How do you think like Hi-Rez and the whole Smite community can get new teams involved with like the pro teams like Dignitas and COG and everybody, and like give them like the base they need to become those pro teams if they really want to put the work into it.
All right. I like it. I think it's a good question. I'll hand it to FG first, and then I'll give my opinion.
You need a D League, right? Just like in the NBA, you need a D League. And I know you guys were just talking about not trying to separate amateur and pro, and I think there's a fine line. I think if you've had so many games, then you're automatically promoted to the pro scene based off of rosters and hard locks. And I'm not gonna work out all the details on stream just in case. But I think if you're a brand new team, I make a team called the 3Ks. We've never played in a tournament ever. We should be in a D League where Smite has maybe an evening show, because all the tournaments are kind of in the morning for me. Yeah. Maybe there's like an evening show in the weekends where the D League plays, or maybe it's hosted on Tier Monster instead, or another show where you can kind of promote another amateur scene. So let's say you take Smite Central or something. That is your D League. That's your official D League, and everyone plays there. And then after you've played so many games, you've been successful, you're kind of promoted up to being able to play in the Smite World Championships. And that gives people, a lot of people are going to think that's not necessary, but what that does is allows people to be like, you know what, I can actually play against people, I can get better, because sometimes a lot of people argue that you learn a lot by getting destroyed by like cognitive in the first round. And that's true, and it's not true. Sometimes you just get beat so bad that you learn nothing from that. Like, oh my God, is my controller even plugged up? Well, if you're using a controller, that's probably where you're losing. But is my keyboard even plugged up? Right? So there needs to be something where you can maybe go against people that are learning, still getting better at the same time, and then you kind of graduate to another league, and that'll kind of help people, just they don't feel the tension of going against COG in the first round and then just having all their hopes and dreams just dashed in one shot.
So I'm going to argue against FG here, and kind of say the size of the scene, the size that our scene is right now, and the maturity of our scene, which is not there. We're still in our infancy. Not talking about age, just talking about infancy of the scene. We do not need to be putting training wheels on teams that are looking to go ahead and start up. I think if you go ahead and look at our scene, there are plenty of outlets for, let's say that we go ahead and make a team, called, for example, Squirt Squad. Right, Turk and Nutella, Squirt Squad. Let's go ahead and say let's say that they want to go ahead. Let's say that they want to go ahead and start to take things seriously. Okay, they have now the Challenger Cup available to them for 10 weeks in a row. Or I'm sorry, 7 weeks in a row. They have the chance to prove themselves. On top of that, you have tier monster tournaments where they can go ahead, practice, prove themselves, and show themselves to the scene. On top of that, you have Smite Central that has tournaments as well that they can prove themselves. So even though they're playing against pros, they still have opportunities to further themselves in the tournament. No training wheels, nothing, no babying. There's so many out, and I haven't even named them all. I think there's like Bloody Tech as well and a few other ones there. There's so many opportunities, to be honest with you guys, that we don't need to be segregating them. There's so many opportunities out there. So to me, if you are a team that is looking to go the distance right now and a chance at a LAN, a chance at some of that money that is out there in the scene right now, you need to start taking it seriously, and you need to start playing in all these tournaments that are out there. Hi-Rez does not have to be the babysitter for the new teams. They're giving you outlets, but there's a lot of community outlets that are available right now.
Yeah, I understand.
So that's my perspective specifically on it. Any counter to that, FG or Twerking Nutella at all?
I feel like I've just been shut down, to be honest. I actually feel shut down. That's a good idea. There's plenty of opportunities for people to go out and practice on their own, and then man up and go to the pro tournaments. Sorry, I'm out.
FG, I love the Tier Monster shirt, man. Way to represent.
Yes.
Represent Tier Monster. All right, guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Twerk and Nutella. Twerk and Nutella is one of my subs on my channel, so I got a shout outs to him. Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, peace out, guys.
Have a good night.
You too.
See, that's a good question. Those are the types of questions I want. Like, just come on and give your opinion. Feel free to. We're all about it. Are we ready for another one, FG? You ready for another one?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. As long as you don't outdo me again.
Oh, whatever. Muffin, welcome to Smite Talk. How's it going?
It's going good. How are you?
Oh, it's going good.
Going good.
So, what do you want to talk about tonight?
I want to talk about Osiris.
Okay, go for it.
Like, do you think he's like way too good to be in the game, or like should he be removed or something? Like,
go for it, FG.
I think the 70% slow is
So Osiris, we talk about Osiris a lot these days.
Yeah, we do.
And last episode, I was kind of on the side of Osiris was strong but not overpowered. Then a couple days ago, I played Osiris Jungle, and my mind has been changed once again. This is twice in one show.
Oh, what? What?
Osiris Jungle was insane.
Yeah.
Uh-oh, watch out, Muffin. You
Yeah.
have a lot of background noise.
I muted him for right now. Well, I'll unmute him.
No problem.
I'll unmute him between.
So Osiris Jungle, wow. So if you're going against other physical characters, Osiris is just a monster, right? So his passive gives you up to 16% physical mitigation, 15% or 16% mitigation on his passive. You add that to his tether, which scales up during the duration. I mean, he can. I have a video on my channel if you want to check it out. I was playing terrible.
Self-promotion.
Right? I wasn't even playing well. Okay. But the fact that I couldn't be killed by the enemy Uller, I couldn't be killed by the I was just running up to people, hitting them, slowing them, and then, oh, you're still in my range. Now you're stunned. I get another chance to barrel down on you. I have no movement speed penalty. I mean, and I had size, and it was just like, I felt a little too strong. I'm a pretty decent player, but I'm not that good.
Yeah.
So I kind of agree that those protections on Osiris are a little much. I think Hi-Rez in designing that god, they saw that, you know what, his only escape is his ultimate. We have to give him something else to allow him to stay in the combat. I think it's a little too much just because of the tether. That AoE that's rough, man. Like, you're in a team fight, you have this huge tether. You either have to stay around and get stunned, or you have to spread out. Either way, that's a win. Right? If you cause an enemy team to spread out when they weren't ready to, or if you stay in that zone, that's a win for your team. Regardless, if you force someone to do something that they weren't prepared to do, that throws off the entire team fight. So, Osiris he's a beast. He's a beast. I don't think he needs to be removed. They just need to tweak him just a little bit. And you kind of see that right now in the tournaments, that he's always banned out for the most part.
Reclassify him as an assassin, or I keep feeding. He definitely needs to be reclassified as an assassin and have his skills scaled like everyone else did with like the Guardian and Warrior patch. I feel like he needs to be classified directly as an assassin, kind of like who we saw with who was that? Who got reclassified from Warrior to assassin?
Nemesis.
There we go. Why can't I remember her name? It's probably because I've been live since 5 o'clock. But anyways, yeah, like I think that needs to be done. To be honest with you. Like, needs to be done. I'm sorry, but that's just my thoughts. Let me see if Muffin has anything else here. Let me unmute. Muffin, you got any other comments? Any other comments towards Osiris?
Yeah, I think, like, is it possible to box him? Like...
No, not if you're physical. If you're physical, you can't box him.
No. Unfortunately not. Unfortunately not.
That's it for me.
All right, thanks for calling in. I appreciate it.
But one final note on that. Yeah. The only thing I don't want to see change is his healing reduction. I think healing is such an annoying ability in the game. I want to keep that on Osiris. I want him to be able to say, sorry, Aphrodite, sorry, Hell, sorry, Ra, you're dying for once. So I really want to see that stay.
Okay. Yeah, I can agree with you there, for sure. Let's go ahead, grab in another caller here. Spiker, welcome to Smite Talk. How's it going?
Pretty good. How are you?
Good. What do you want to talk about tonight?
Welcome.
I want to talk about Kuang and his 3 move.
Oh yeah?
Like the tornado.
The tornado of death, the almighty ability that haunts us all as it ticks down and kills us.
Yeah, because I mainly play Joust, and like early game, I mean, it doesn't do that much damage.
Yeah.
But like the cooldown on it is so low, he can just keep spamming it over and over again, and it just does so much damage.
Yeah, and for people not familiar with Kuang, beginning out, it starts at 15-second cooldown, then 14, 13, 12, and 11. So by end game, without any item or any buff, it's at 11 seconds. Which is, if you build correctly and you get the proper items, it's literally like always available to you at all times. So I can agree with you. I'm gonna throw this to FG first before I comment on Kuang and his lovely tornadoes.
I can't speak to it from a Joust point of view because I don't play 1v1 Joust, but I understand that there's a thing out there where AO just stays under his tower and just waits and farms and just kills you later on. So I know that exists. Kuang's 3 is like the most annoying ability ever because you can be in it for a split second, like just you're in and you're out like in a split second, and your life just goes like, oh my god, are you serious?
It's like old school Mario, right?
Exactly. Done. So, but I mean, it really actually doesn't bother me too much, to be honest. Like Kuang is not one of those guys where I'm just like I can't do anything against him. He's just kind of like he's that someone had an amazing analogy with Kuang. They kind of called him like the traffic guard of like the jungle and the lanes in the jungle, right? If he doesn't want you to go somewhere, He just throws his 3 there, and you're not going anywhere.
No,
No one's gonna walk through an
you don't
Alcon
go
3.
through that. You don't go through even as a guardian. No, like even as a guardian.
Yeah.
Nope. No. I can agree with you. I mean, as much as I like, am like, oh my gosh, Alclang's tornadoes are so good. At the same time, he is very squishy. If you jump on top of him, it's very difficult. Even with throwing a tornado under you, by the time you move away, the other person's probably only taken 1, maybe 2 ticks max from that. So I like where Alquang's at. I don't think he needs a nerf at all. I mean, I think the tornado is appropriate. It makes him viable because the rest of his kit, everything's like, okay. I mean, his Spirit's Tempest is really, really good, and I can agree with you, but it's very skill-based. You know what I mean? Like, it takes some time. The cast time and the build-up for a Spirit's Tempest is appropriate enough that tornadoes work and can be as strong as it can be. Spiker, any comments on on that 3? I mean, you called in to talk about it. I mean, do you feel it's too strong? What are your thoughts on it?
I mean, like late game, it can be really strong if you have like Kronos' pendant with the cooldown, and if you get the Gem of Isolation and it slows you down, then he can just hit you with his 1 move and then Spirit's Tempest and then just blow you away. Yeah,
no, I can agree. I mean, it's part of his kit, to be honest with you. Anything else you want to talk about tonight?
Yeah, I just kind of had like a cool idea for like an Apollo skin. I know you don't
go
really
for it.
do stuff with that.
I want to hear it. Go for it.
Like, what if it was like an army man and like his basic would be like 2 pistols, and when he got his passive, he'd like maybe pull out like a machine gun or something.
Like an Uzi.
I like the fact that I like the idea of switching his duels to like something that's a 2-hand weapon of some sort. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, no, I like it. I like it for sure. I think it's a good idea, man.
Yeah, and then like with his mesmerize, he'd maybe throw down like a flash grenade or something like that.
Definitely thought out. I think it's a good idea. You should work for Hi-Rez now. Come up with skins. Well, Spiker.25, thank you very much for coming on, man. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Awesome.
Also, Kuang got indirectly nerfed a little bit with Poly, so I mean that was his baby, so he's been indirectly nerfed anyway.
The thing is, though, he can still pick up Poly and still do very, very well. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So let's go on and move on to our second topic. Feel free to call in and keep calling in about whatever you want. We'll talk about our second topic here. Second topic is the path to the 600K. Just kind of the esports revolving around that. We talked very much in detail on it on the Smite update. But FG, you know.
Oh, you did.
Oh my word, we talked about it for an hour. What direct you want to talk about specifically? I mean, your comments were, is this a big deal?
So I wanted to kind of talk about. kind of wanted to point it towards a Reddit post as usual.
Okay.
About
always.
People that were really, really is this what you guys talked about? How people were kind of disappointed that this was the big announcement?
Yes. But we didn't. No. We didn't talk. No. Yes, I'm agreeing with you, but no, we didn't talk about it the way you're talking about it. We talked more about the tournament layout and stuff like that. We did not talk about that post. So go for it. Fill us in.
Okay.
Fill us in.
Gotcha.
Go for it.
So let's talk about that for a second. So there was a small portion of the community. I'm not going to say that they were the majority or anything like that, but there was a portion of the community that were really, really excited because Hi-Rez was saying that something big was coming. Okay. Something game-changing was happening. And then once we got to that day, it was, surprise, it's a 600K tournament. And a lot of people were a little disappointed. And I was very, very confused about it. But let's talk about the reason why. So there's a lot of people out there that don't like esports or not into esports. They don't even know who Zapman is.
What?
Believe that.
What? No. I'm disagreeing. I completely understand. There's nothing wrong with that, to be honest, though.
Yeah, there absolutely is nothing wrong with that. But the reason why I brought this up because I want people to understand that this 600K has everything to do with you, even if you don't like esports. It has everything to do with Smite from the casual scene, and you don't like sports, so let's take it to a different level. Cars, right? Let's talk about cars. Octane, Mr. WRX man.
That's right. So, you didn't know that, huh? You were surprised.
I do know.
You were surprised. I do know
now. So the 600K for people that are casual, it's kind of like you buy a Dodge minivan, right? But Dodge makes Dodge Vipers, right? They don't make Dodge Vipers for everyone. They make Dodge Vipers as a flagship to bring people into the Dodge showroom to show people other Dodge vehicles, right? That's what the Dodge Viper's for. So this esports tournament is to let everybody know how big we are and how much money we're throwing at this thing, so that other people, maybe they're not interested in esports, but they come down, they trickle down into, I hate to say the word casual, but they trickle down into a scene that is not esports focused. And that's a good thing. The bigger this tournament is, the better it is for all of Smite. The more popular this game gets, people will start coming by the droves to play Smite just because they hear about this tournament.
Yeah.
A lot of people gave us slack for like, it was only a 200K last time. Hi-Rez upped the ante, man. They went right up to 600K, and this is just the beginning, right? When we know we're going to get some type of skin promotion and stuff like that to increase the pool, and with the population of Smite growing, who knows how much we're going to be able to contribute this time over the last time, right? It's going to be crazy, and it's good for everybody. Jenny Z, shout out.
That's right. That's right. That's right. I mean, I was actually explaining kind of the whole situation to a friend of mine this weekend, and he wasn't as familiar with Smite. And I kind of said, okay, the MOBA scene. He's like, yes, Dota 2, League of Legends. I said, oh, exactly. Like, those names. Of those names of those brands. He plays video games, but he's not big into MOBAs. So I was talking to him, and I said, imagine the scene as like a black night. Like, it's just pitch black at night. Okay? Really, really dark at night. All right. Pitch black. Can't see anything. All of a sudden, you see a flare shoot up. That's exactly what this is. Dota 2 and League of Legends are that black night. The flare is Smite. It's Smite making itself known to the rest of the community. That's exactly how I see it, to be honest with you. And, talking about the announcement and stuff like that, word on the street is that the 600, and I don't know how much true this is, okay? I'm just going to put it out there. Someone from Hi-Rez can let me know. The 600K announcement midday versus at the 4 o'clock, I think it wasn't supposed to be announced till 4 o'clock. And somehow it got leaked, and then Hi-Rez responded with an announcement earlier on in the day. Don't hold me to it. Don't hold me to it. Just whispers that I've heard is that, that 600K amount was supposed to be announced at 4 o'clock. Maybe I'm wrong. But that's just my understanding. So with that said, the announcement, yes, is very much focused around esports. And I know not everyone is all about esports. And that's fine. You don't have to be. But there's going to be other things coming that are going to affect you in game. The skins that are going to come out are a big deal to you. But other people were thinking like this huge thing was coming about. Like, 10v10 is being released.
Arachne's
getting redone. Like, they hyped it up a lot, and people were disappointed that it was 99% esports and 1% in-game content. Oh, we're going to start to see some skins and other stuff coming out here. So, I can understand it. I
really don't blame Hi-Rez though, because you think about this: if you throw a party at your apartment for 10 people, that's a big deal, right? Yeah. It's like there's a lot of preparation that goes into throwing a party for 10 people. Yeah. You have this entire studio throwing a 600K tournament from people from EU, America, China, Latin America. That is massive. So I'm okay with them hyping it up, man. That's a lot of work, dude.
It is a big deal, and you have to remember with Smite, like. You have to remember, Smite is not looking to pull people in that don't play video games. They're looking to pull people in that play MOBAs and that play video games. And with that said, there's a big market in esports right now, and there's a lot of money behind it, hence why it was such a big deal. So, I can understand it. For sure. Let's go ahead, bring in our next caller. Proxy Damage. Let's see.
Proxy has a crown.
I know. Proxy Damage. Welcome to Smite Talk. How's it going?
Hello.
So
first of all, big fan of both your shows.
Thank you.
Smite Talk and the Smite Update. Love them.
Thank you. What do you want to talk about tonight?
I have 2 topics, if we have time for them.
We have plenty of time. Go for it.
Okay, so first of all, let's go with the easier of the 2, I think. Hades. Let's talk about Hades.
What about him?
I love Hades.
Yeah, it was nerfed recently. I think you've noticed.
No.
Yeah, I gotta go there. To what point was it really a deserved nerf? Because like the idea I got, I don't have the hard evidence. Hi-Rez has that, right? But the idea I got is that it was nerfed exclusively because he had a really high win rate at every level.
Correct. But the thing is with Hades, with the win rate thing, is like Hades is not played very often. But when he is played, he's winning. So when you look at his win ratio, it's like extremely high because it's like, okay, this guy has played X and his percent of wins is 70%. We have a problem here. Like, I can understand.
Exactly, because the thing is that the way I see it, and again, in my limited scope, Hades is one of two things. First of all, he's a new stomper. Like Hades, Ares, and Fenrir. If people don't know how to deal with them, they totally win. That's it. That's what they do.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, it's gonna have a high win percentage there.
Yeah.
And the other way he's used a lot, it was at least, was like niche. He was very good at a niche pick in high level play, which was like winning his lane and specific counter setups. But at that level, only the people that knew how to play 80s played him for that specific way that they knew what to do with, right? So obviously it's also gonna skew the metric. So at what point was he really nerfed because he deserved it? At what point was he nerfed because statistics?
That's a good point. No, I can understand that. What do you think about that, FG?
I think you're right. I think it's all about statistics, and I think and I have no information. I don't work at Hi-Rez, but I just want to say that I think not only did they take in consideration his win rate, I think they also took in consideration the times that he was winning, like how much time had elapsed in a conquest game before he won. Because I feel like Hades was a very, very strong early game god. He could kill you at level 5 or 4, depending on how you stood in the minions. He can get his tower down in less than 10 minutes. I think he was pushing a lot of early game surrenders, the same as Agni. And I think Hi-Rez is trying to steer away from gods that force games to be over early. So I think that's another reason why they nerfed him, and another reason why they nerfed Agni. They don't want to see a bunch of 11 minutes conquests on. I think that's another statistic. Right, exactly, and that kind of sidesteps your question. Should they nerf gods based on statistics? I think they have to, right? I think that's the only way they can really do it, because they have the most unbiased view of a god. They say, here he is, this is what he's doing consistently. Is that in line with what we think the game should flow like? So I think they have the final call.
I can understand the adjustment there, with why they did it, but at the same time, I think to me it comes back to the fact that I feel like Hades needs to be better assigned a role when I guess not really role. I guess what do they call it? They call it role. Right now he's labeled as a guardian. I don't think he really is. And I think that's where the problem is with Hades, is that everything is based off of your role and then also your statistics. I think they need to adjust that. I think he needs to be properly assigned into, if he's going to be assigned as a mage, then he needs to have his stats adjusted for that. I think Hades could be a great mage. I think he'd be a great mage, but he needs to be a little bit squishier then. You know what I mean?
That is lacking some sort of direction, basically. They don't know what to do with him.
Exactly. He's one of those guys where it's like, what do we do with Hades? Well, he's not really in the spotlight right now, but wow, he's winning a ton of games. So what do? We go ahead and do exactly what you're talking about. They nerfed him because his win rate's high. Like, they showed graphs. Hi-Rez even came out with the graphs and showed, top win rate was Hades, and everyone's like, Hades? Nobody plays Hades. Exactly. So that's just my thoughts on it. Any other? What was your second question there, Proxy?
All right. The second question is about whether it's a little more complicated. I think whether you think the current meta is being more shaped by the players or the current god selection, right? Because you go into a game right now, there are two places that are basically locked. The mid is going to be a mage, and the hunter is going to be a hunter, right? The duo. Then you're going to get the tank in the support role, which is usually a guardian. Can be some warriors, I guess, but you're going to have a tank. That leaves two positions. According to this setup, there leaves two positions to be filled. You need a jungler and a solo.
Yep.
And we saw a couple weeks ago, or last week, or whatever, what happens when a team doesn't have split damage. Omegatron picks the mana and, as F-Dot would put it, poops all over them.
Yep.
So, comparatively, there are a lot more assassins or warriors or physical damage in general that can do jungle. So usually you get, by default, you get a mage in the solo, and you get a warrior or an assassin in the jungle.
Yeah.
But how much of this is because of the current god selection, as I said, and how much of this is because people are just, I have to put a mage there, and I have to put a hunter in that role, and we can't do put an Neath in the middle lane, for example.
I love you already.
Exactly.
That was actually a thing at one point. I think I'll comment on that first. The competitive scene very much influences the meta. They set the pace on the meta.
Of course.
You have to remember that, and so. every once in a while we'll see a competitive player go ahead and play something different. You know, kind of Wolfie today was talking about how there's a player that plays Naja support. And it's possible, and it works. And if we were to see that being played more and more in competitive matches that are streamed, you would start to see that as a direct reflection in the casual scene. And what I mean by casual scene is just the rest of the scene, because the meta goes ahead and starts to take place. So to me, it is the meta to me is, and what gods are selected are more influenced by the competitive players than it is the gods to me. What do you think, FG?
I 1000% agree.
Yes.
Just because these things work in the Smite meta, right? In the actual game meta, these things work. You can throw Chalk mid. You can throw Kali mid, believe it or not. You can do Nija support. You can do all these things, and they actually work. But the issue is this: when you're not a professional, you don't have a team, you don't have 4 people that know what you're going to do, and you pick a Neath for the mid. Well, guess what? Someone's also going to do. They're also going to put a hunter over there in the hunter role because that's all they know. Where I think maybe you should put like maybe an Aphrodite Hercules over there or something like that. I'm just throwing things out there, but I'm saying people, they're so stuck in the meta. It's really, really hard to try things in the normal conquest mode because you don't really need 2 hunters in it. Actually, that's me enforcing my own meta. Never mind. Let me take that back. It's completely based off of the pro scene and the pro scene players. Smite is probably one of the most balanced games in my opinion when it comes to MOBAs because you literally can do almost anything if your skill level is high enough, right? I play Nija mid sometimes if I'm feeling frisky. As long as it's not a Ra, I'm okay. Like, I am okay as long as it's not a Ra. You know what I mean? So that's just a testament to the fact that the meta is kind of wide open. And we see that during the competitive scene that every now and then someone just throws a little pick out there that just changes everything. Like Aphrodite solo, which wasn't a thing for the longest time. Then all of a sudden, ooh, Aphrodite solo. When we thought Aphrodite was dead, which, you know, she basically was, right? Aphrodite solo, in my opinion, is a poor pick. But just the fact that, you know, there are so many different combinations that haven't been tapped yet. This game continues to get bigger. And we're just seeing the beginnings of it. Absolutely.
Scylla was considered junk, right?
Say that again?
Scylla was considered junk for a while, right?
When she first came out, people didn't respect the Scylla.
Yeah, she's so good. Ban, please. Ban, please. Well, Proxy Damage, thanks for calling in, man. I appreciate it.
No problem.
You have a good night.
Can I just say one more thing quickly?
Go for it.
Just really quick. You said that Osiris should also be an assassin. I have to disagree because I think there's a fundamental difference between him and Nemesis. Nemesis is all about movement speed and that one quickly shield to negate all damage for that one very brief period, and that's an assassin thing. Osiris is just, his kit makes him tankier, which is a warrior thing. I think that's the big difference, that's all.
Yeah. And some of that could very much be adjusted. I feel like that would fit in with more of an assassin over a warrior. I just think if they're going to keep him a warrior, if they're going to keep him a warrior, there needs to be some adjustments then. Which is fine. But all right, man, thanks for calling in.
Thanks for
appreciate it, man. Good questions.
Thank you. Good deal. Any other comments you wanted to make about the 600K and just the announcement and stuff like that?
That's all I got on the 600K. I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait to see you again, Octane. It's going to be glorious.
Yeah, I don't know that I'll be going to any of the
what?
No, to any of the regional events coming up here. Like the regional qualifiers in Atlanta or the LAN event in Atlanta, unless I am invited from Hi-Rez. But I definitely will be at the World Championship for sure
in January.
We'll have to share some strawberry daiquiris together, right?
I'm gonna bring Zimas, dude. I'm bringing Zimas. We're just gonna live it up.
How about some Mike's Hard Lemonade? We can have a party with it. All right, so let's go ahead and bring Landon. Welcome to Smite Talk. How's it going?
Pretty good, thank you.
Good. So what do you want to talk about tonight?
I've got an oddball kind of talk about the towers in games.
Yep.
Do you think they need a little buff because too many people are just charging the tower and get a kill and it's escape free kill and a free tower kill?
Yeah. This is such an interesting topic because let's go back like a year ago, like very early on, like when we first started Smite Update. We started Smite Update but we started Smite Update in closed beta. And that was a long time ago. Believe it or not. And
Oh, geez.
I know. And Dry Bear and I were hosting the show then. And one of my big things was the fact, and I was an advocate for it. I was like, towers need more health, towers need more damage, because I was very much a player, and I was still new to the game. I mean, I started in August 2012, but still newish, where I was very much like, hey, I'm in my tower, nobody should be able to touch me. And that was my view on things. And since then, and people are probably shaking their heads in chat, trust me, it's not the same anymore. Since then, of course, my opinion has changed, and I'm very much an advocate of you need to be able to tower dive. There is no safe zone specifically. Yes, it punishes players. People may argue that the tower health, there was one point where I was like, oh, the tower health should scale depending on how long the game is and stuff like that. So later on, and that's still sometimes an option too, where like late game, you shouldn't be able to melt a tower in like 5 seconds for the full team. Some may question that availability and stuff like that. The damage, I think, is right where it should be with a tower. I'm completely fine with the damage it does, and the way that you can tower dive at like level 4 or level 3 or whatever. I forget the exact level that you're actually able to. I guess it depends on your god. But when it comes down to health, if I'm going to make a change to towers, which I'm fine with the way they are now, but if I'm going to make a change to towers, to me, I'd like to see towers' health scale with the game. So that as the game time goes on, it scales. So if there is a full clear that happens and then Fire Giant is taken, the team can't wipe the tower, wipe the Phoenix, wipe the Minotaur in like a minute type of deal. Just my thoughts. The games are going to be longer, but yeah. I don't know. FG, what do you think?
You kind of kill Nuwa a little bit. You kind of kill
your
Apollo.
girl.
Whether you care, I mean, that just depends on how you feel about split pushing. So that's kind of like a slightly different topic, but that kind of indirectly just destroys split pushing if the tower is the power of like a Gold Fury. I'm just throwing dumb things out there right now just for reference. Apollo's just not going to have time to burn it down. So that kind of kills split pushing. I don't know. I kind of like how the towers are now because it promotes a more fast-paced game.
Yeah.
One of my favorite changes to the towers were the fact and I was scared when it first happened, but I was really excited afterwards when they made it so if the tower hit that minion, you just lost gold.
Yeah, that was necessary. That was so necessary.
That is an incredible change, and I think Smite is the only MOBA that has that. I could be wrong. I don't play every single MOBA, but that's a fantastic change. And it also kind of opens the door. This is kind of a sidestep once again. You know how I do it? It'd be cool if we had another god like Kuang. Kuang used to have a passive where he was stronger under his tower. I would like to see that I would like to see that looked at again. I want a tower hugger god in the game, just to be honest. But I like the way towers are. It keeps the speed of the game up. Today we had a 40+ minute game with some of the best players in the world, right?
Yep.
And the only reason why that game ended is because they could quickly just
melt everything. Yep.
Take that Phoenix, take the Titan in the game. And it kind of has to be like that, or you're going to be looking at hour and 30-minute games, and nobody wants that.
Yeah, no, I agree. Land, any other questions or comments?
What about an item that actually gives your tower like an additional defense?
There was an item like that at one point. Wasn't there an item? What was the item called? Wasn't there an item? There was an item that made your tower immune. Wasn't there? I thought there was. Am I wrong?
I think that's League of Legends. Was it in Smite?
It might have been League of Legends. I can't recall. There was some tower items. There was this phase that like Hi-Rez went through where they implemented a bunch of abilities that allowed you that had to do with the tower. One of them was like teleport to tower and stuff like that. But chat's gonna correct me. I can't remember.
I feel like I know Motivate was a thing for minions, which was the week that I never played Smite.
That's right.
I didn't play Smite at all.
That's right.
I was like, screw this game.
Motivation. That's right. I was trying to think what it was. There was like this time period where like Hi-Rez. Oh, Fortifies in League of Legends. Thank you. I couldn't remember.
Yeah, Fortifies.
I couldn't remember, but there was this time period where Hi-Rez went through like a bunch of stuff that they wanted to go ahead to help out lanes, and that was one of them. Was something similar to that. So.
That was the day that Smite died when Motivate was in the game. It was the worst thing. Double Motivate lanes. Oh my god. It was like, what am I doing?
Yes, I agree. Well, thanks, Land, for calling in. I appreciate it. You have a good night.
You too.
Alrighty, let's move on to our third topic here, and we'll continue to bring as many calls as we can. If you guys don't have a chance to call in, or you listen to the VOD of the show, but you want to ask a question or make a comment or something, email the show, smitetalk@gmail.com. We will add your question as one of the topics for our show. So this week it comes from Natalie, and says, how to deal with insta-lockers in Conquest and other modes. When that happens, I find myself forced to pick a role I'm awful at for the benefit of the team comp. Kind of like with your meta at that moment that we kind of talked about. If it can be saved. Could there be a solution of a kind of behavior, or should I just insta-lock myself and play whatever I want? So thank you, Natalie, for submitting the email. We do appreciate it. And FG, what are your thoughts on insta-lockers?
You know what? I play a lot of Smite, and I would have to say, let's say in 20 games on a non-patch week, I don't run into a lot of insta-lockers at level 30. I don't know how it is in the lower levels, but typically I might get 2 people out of 20 games worth that insta-lock on me. It's not, to me, it's not that high of a number, right? Typically, most people just type in jungle, mid, hunter. There's very rare, and like I know chat's probably gonna say something. It's very rare that I see someone say hunter. Haha, no, I'm playing hunter, unless it's a patch week. When it comes to patch weeks, I don't have a solution because everybody wants to play the brand new god, and I don't have an answer for that. I think I want to play the brand new god. I want to record videos. I want to check them out. I mean, we all feel the same way about a brand new god, but outside of patch weeks, I don't think it's toxic. It's toxic behavior. I just don't think it's so rampant, in my opinion.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about this on Smite Update, about like how you deal with insta-lockers and stuff like that. And we actually kind of, we were talking about role queues, where in some games they have the ability.
That is beautiful.
Where in some games you have the ability to go, okay, I want to play support, and I don't want anyone else to take it. So what happens is you go ahead and queue up into this certain type of queue. You select what you want to play ahead of time. It then gathers a team, depending, puts it together. Okay, we're going to have one ADC. We're going to have one middle. We're going to have one solo. We're going to have one jungler. We're going to have one support. Puts them together, puts you into a queue. When you get into the pick stage, you can only pick that type of god. So if you pick support, you can only play your guardians. There's pros and cons against something like this. And we talked about it on the Smite Update. Kind of has the same thing to do with like insta-lockers. Is this a solution for insta-lockers? If you want to add this type of game mode into Smite, go for it. Add the game mode into Smite. But when there's casual, you should be able to get into casual and play whatever you want, and it shouldn't matter to a big deal. And what I mean by that is, like, you jump into casual, somebody instant-locks in, so be it. It's casual. People are just in there to kind of have some fun. Now, with ranked and stuff like that, we kind of talked about it, where this person talked about how they didn't get the role they wanted, so they were horrible. What do they say? I'm awful at the other roles and stuff like that. And the comment I have to say to that is, if you're playing ranked, and this is kind of what we talked about, you need to be able to play every role if possible. Yeah. And people are kind of scared of ranked. Like, it's like that whole philosophy, like when I played StarCraft 2, we have like ranked and unranked players, and like unranked players didn't want to touch ranked because they didn't feel good enough. And it's like, ranked is there so you play against players of your skill level. Granted, that could bring up another argument the way ranked is right now, but my thought there, to be honest with you, is when you're playing ranked, you should have 3 of every role mastered so that when you go into ranked, you feel comfortable at everything. Like, you really should. Like, I'm not the best jungler, but if I end up picking last in ranked and I pick jungle, I'm going to play it because I feel comfortable with it. I'm not the best. My primary role is support and guardian. I love support and guardian, but I can play mid, I can play jungler, I can play solo, but I may not be as good, but I'm at least decent. So for people that are dealing with insta-lockers, you're going to get it in any queue. It's going to happen. What I can say to you is, don't limit yourself to one role. Not even the pro players even limit themselves to one role. They make it a little more versatile. Now, granted, they already have set roles ahead of time, but I would say try to mix it up as much as you can. What are your thoughts on insta-lockers, FG? Any way to combat in this, or do you think there's no solution?
Well, I answered the question first, but don't worry, I have something else to say. I know what you're talking about when it comes to that set role queue that League of Legends is basically doing right now, which I think a lot of people, or Hi-Rez Chris talked about it before, and he just said the population isn't that big just yet to allow that, which is fine. But I totally agree with what you're saying there. When you have to learn all the roles, or if you want to have the highest game possible, once again, shameless plug, because I make YouTube videos, I want to make sure that I always have the best video that I can possibly have. Yeah. So 99% of the time, I just fill. Like, I just watch what everyone else is going to pick, and I say, all right, what do we need? What do I need to play to make this team the best, give us the best chance of winning? So that's what I do, and that's, you know, sometimes that's support, but it's not, funny enough, like I said, I do fill a lot, and it's not always support. I get a lot of jungle and I get a lot of solo when it comes to the fill role. So that's my suggestion, is learn other roles or use this as a challenge, right? Yeah. This guy insta-locked. All right, you know what? I know how to make this team win because this jerk insta-locked whatever. He insta-locked this hunter over here. You know what? I'm going to make sure we win by playing this to make sure I can kind of carry him, for lack of a better word. So I don't have a solution to it because people are just going to be people.
So I'm going to dedicate today's show to the people in lobby that jump into lobby and say, I will fill.
Yeah.
Today's show is dedicated to you. We salute you because, in all honesty, you are we need more and more people like you, is what I'm going to say. You know, you have those insta-lockers. We need more people that are like, hey, guys, I'll fill, especially when they're bottom choice. Not bottom elo because it's all random now, but bottom, the last person to pick. I love those people. They're like, hey, guys, I'll play whatever. Just let me know. Whatever we need.
Wait, what I don't want to salute, though? Yeah. I want to take a negative salute, like reverse. I don't like the people that get in the lobby and say, what do you guys want me to pick? Dude, just pick something. Yeah, what do you want to play?
And then they wait till like the last second. And they're like, click, and you're like, why did you pick that god? I don't handle good under pressure. I'm sorry. And it's like, just pick.
Exactly.
Agreed. Okay, let's go ahead and bring in Raw 10,000p. Raw 10,000p. How's it going? Welcome to Smite Talk.
What up, man?
Hey, what do you want to talk about?
Just wanted to talk about something that Wolfie touched. Wait, give me a second. I gotta turn off your stream.
Go for it. Take your time.
Hey, man, I wanted to talk about something that Wolfie touched on. For me, it's very important. Like, I think that EU and NA should get like a little more chance in the.
Still with us? Your microphone cut out.
Oh, sorry, man.
Okay, what was your question?
I think we should put. I wanted to see what FG thinks about what Wolfie said. We should have more NA and EU teams in the 600K.
Okay, sure. So I'll update FG just in case you didn't see the whole thing, and also the chat. Wolfie, when we talked about the launch tournament, the World Championship, Wolfie was very much biased towards, hey, I don't like the fact that there's only 2 NA and 2 EU teams, and then you have 2 from China, 1 from Latin America, and 1 from Brazil. He felt that the additional teams that didn't get into the NA and the EU World Championship were better and have put in their time longer than some of these Brazil, Latin American, and Chinese teams, and felt that there should be more going to the tournament because that was his opinion. Now, FG and myself understood the fact of why they're doing it and why they're inviting these different regions. We talked about how international qualifiers will be a thing in the future, just not this year. So, FG, what is your thought, I guess, on the 2 only from NA and 2 from EU?
I'm a sports guy, man, so I'm kind of used to this kind of thing. Like when you compare the NBA, there are way better teams in the Western Conference and the Eastern Conference. Yeah. So if you're in the Eastern, you have an easier time to get into those higher playoff and final games than you do in the West. And that's kind of the same way here, right? We have all these amazing teams in the NA and EU, but in order to make sure that we have a clear view of everyone that's going to go, we have to just we have to make that I don't want to call it a handicap, but we have to make sure that people from EU come. We have to make sure we have representation from Latin America. Yep. We have to make sure we have representation from NA. It just has to be that way, because what if we get into a situation where it's 6 NA teams, an EU team, no China? Then what do you do? Like, you know what I mean? I know it's all about you deserved it because you played better, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But at the end of the time, Smite is trying to be an international phenomenon. Yeah. So these things have to be done.
I mean, what I was thinking, it could be something like, for example, in the World Cup, they do it by.
Oh, you cut out a second there. You said the World Cup, and then you cut out.
Yeah, in South America, and so like depends where the team is from. And how many people are signed up from that region, they let you like a certain amount of people. Mm-hmm. So I was thinking we could do something like that. I know right now you can't do it because we have like 3 teams in Asia and China, and that's like, it wouldn't be fair.
Yeah, I mean,
But
I
we
can
could do
understand.
something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand how that would work. With like, okay, you have X amount of teams sign up. For X amount of teams that sign up, that gives you one slot. So like, you could say, okay, for 25 teams that sign up, that gives you one slot, type of deal. So I can understand that for sure. I mean, I think the big thing is people need to understand that the way it is laid out now is to set the stepping stones for the future. So the World Championship now is to give and highlight the other regions now, like China, like Latin America and Brazil. So in the future, international qualifiers is a thing and it's viable. You know what I mean? Having an international qualifier to next year is going to be a thing. I can almost guarantee it. It's going to be a thing. But right now, you just can't do it. And so we need to give China the spotlight. We need to give Brazil and Latin America the spotlight so that esports can be kickstarted in those scenes. It's already way past kickstarted in North America and EU. We are way past that. But in China, we're getting there. In Brazil and Latin America, we're not there yet. So we need to get it there. So I can understand it behind it, but I can also understand Wolfie's perspective, where he is frustrated with the way that it's laid out. But I will have to say that there are so many opportunities for North American and EU players and teams to make it to regionals and then to the World Championship. They're giving them multiple tournaments to get there. So that's just my opinion. FG, any last opinions or thoughts?
That's a good point. So we kind of agree with Wolfie, but just not this year.
Exactly. Wolfie, we'll see you next year, bro. Any last comments there, Raw 10,000p?
Oh yeah, one more thing. What do you guys think about Giannis?
Giannis.
Where's Hindu? Hindu's in the chat
I know,
somewhere.
right? What do you think about him, FG?
I think his two ability needs to be tweaked back down because it was a high damage ability. It was a high damage ability because it was hard to hit. They made it easier to hit and they left the damage the same. That's all I have to say. I love the fact that there is the dropship play in Smite now, where the entire team is like right outside the enemy base. They do a portal straight to the Titan. I think it's fantastic. It's going to be so amazing to actually be in an arena one day in the World Championship and see that play and hear all the entire crowd go crazy with a play like that.
It gives backdooring. Awesome. It gives backdooring a new name. You don't need to have it. You don't need to be an Apollo to fly across the skies. You know, Giannis will definitely make it happen. So I can completely understand it, without a doubt. So thank you very much for calling in, Raw 10,000p. I appreciate it. You have a good night.
All right, thanks, man.
Later, bro.
Awesome. Guys, we're going to take a few more calls. We have about a half hour left in the show. So we'll take as many calls as we can between now and then. Let's go ahead and bring in Blame the Tank. I like this. Blame the Tank. Blame the Tank. Welcome to Smite Talk.
Hi, guys.
How's it going?
I'm doing fine. I actually hate you because it's 3 a.m. I'm still here watching.
Addiction at its best. You are the type of viewers I love. So what do you want to talk about?
We appreciate you.
That's right.
I wanted to ask you about streaming in general.
Okay.
And what is your opinion about Smite Game channel still being 24 hours a day?
Ooh.
Sure.
People streaming here and basically, let's use a bad word, stealing viewers from any new streamers or the streamers that already do stream but don't get viewers.
Sure. I think this is an argument that definitely became a big deal when Smite launched. Like, it was no longer in beta and it launched and people were like, what now? I'm going to throw it to FG first and then I will give my insight as I have some information. So go for it, FG.
Oh, you have some information here. Man, I feel like I should go second now.
No, first.
I hear this so much. I streamed for like 8 months straight on Tier Monsters. So I actually heard this quite a bit. And I don't agree with the sentiment that just because Smite Game is there, I don't necessarily agree that they're all going to trickle down to the other channels. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't believe that trickle down effect actually exists to the extent that people think that it does. Mm-hmm. Because on the weekends when Smite Game isn't up, Smite Game just has less viewers. Like, overall, it just flat out has less viewers overall. So if people were really out there trying to find streams and trying to trickle down to the other streams, they have the entire weekend to do so, and you just don't see it. And if I was Hi-Rez, I don't think I'd feel comfortable just shutting down 1,000 to 2,000 plus viewers guaranteed and just hopes that those people are going to find another home in another channel. I don't know. I don't know.
Can I interrupt you a second here?
Yeah, go for it.
Maybe the reason for that is because it's very difficult to actually find another streams. If you don't use the Twitch searching tool or whatever, it's actually pretty hard to find different streams.
I can see that. I can see that for sure. I mean, my thoughts specifically on Smite Game. Smite Game was and still is a valuable tool to Hi-Rez to advertise their game. Now, this was huge in beta, and it served its purpose in beta, with the Smite gameplay. They could go ahead and advertise and show off the game in a manner that they wanted to. And so the 24-hour stream was available, and it's a great idea. Now, since Smite Game first started out, there have been some great additions to Smite Game. You have the art show, you have the patch notes, you have Face Off, you have Smite Update and Smite Talk. You have the.
I don't mean to remove the show.
No. Yeah, let me finish. So you have the tournaments as well. So it has definitely evolved from just a gameplay aspect, and has started to move in a little bit of a different direction. We're starting to see it there. My understanding from what I've heard, and just put it out there, is that Smite Game, the end result for Hi-Rez with Smite Game is not to have a 24-hour stream. My understanding is my understanding is the end game is to have a premier content channel that Hi-Rez can live stream its content to when they would like to, like the patch notes, like the art show, like the tournaments. But at some point here, gameplay is going to be a dime a dozen in the scene, and we are there now. You can go anywhere under the Smite category on Twitch and find excellent gameplay and excellent entertainment. When it's going to happen, I don't know. Could be this year, could be 3 years, could be 5 years. I have no clue. But my understanding is that's the end game for, Smite Game. I don't work for Hi-Rez. I am not under an NDA for any means, but that's my understanding, is that eventually it will get there. So that's just my understanding. Any other question you have, Blame the Tank, or any other comment or opinion?
What would you say about featured streams, like for example once a week, like random people invited, well, not random, but people who stream or something like that, to get them to know?
To be on Smite Game?
Yeah, for example, I don't know, let's say Kelly hosts a show on Friday for 3 hours, and she streams with someone, let's say.
You can definitely do that. I think it's a great idea. The problem is that you can't have Joe Schmo all of a sudden stream, some random streamer who might get 3 viewers, who all of a sudden, the viewers don't matter, I'm sorry. Some person all of a sudden randomly go ahead and jump on Smite Game. Because one, when you're on Smite Game, you're representing Hi-Rez and the studio, and you can't have someone come on stream and all of a sudden throw a bunch of porn up, or go ahead and curse or curse out Hi-Rez Studios or whatever.
I didn't mean to invite Octane, but
you know what I mean? Like that's the thing. Hi-Rez can like, you have to earn it to be on Smite Game. I'll be honest with you. Like, there is an application process and everything. So that's why, like, for example, like, Smite Talk is a huge risk for not only me, but also for Hi-Rez. Because I take the risk of pulling people on the stream without being able to control what you say. That's why, like, when I play viewer games on Smite Game, I don't use raid call or mumble, because I can't play with random viewers and control what they say. Because then all of a sudden, people could go ahead and misrepresent what Hi-Rez is trying to do. And so I like the idea of where you're going. Featuring a random viewer or streamer is fine with me, but not on Smite Game. Maybe in the game, under the Smite TV category, they could do random featured streamer of the week, and they could highlight you.
It worked properly.
What's that?
Yeah, that's a difference.
If only it worked, the featured streams in games, like most of the time,
yes.
Like 99% of the time, it doesn't work properly.
Well, yeah, but you have to remember too. Yeah, you have to remember too, though. Like, you have to apply for that as well. It doesn't just pick someone randomly.
I know.
But like, I would like to see that. I'd like to see that cleaned up to the point where you can apply to be a random featured stream of the week, and then it will highlight you, not showing you live content, just like info about you, and then like linking to your channel. You know what I mean?
Also, let's not forget another platform out there, YouTube, right? When Duke was doing, and you don't even have to have a YouTube channel. Like Duke was doing a spotlight of a community member that was really big in the Smite and was doing something special. Yeah. So Duke would highlight someone there, which would automatically turn into, if you're a YouTuber, that would turn into new subscribers, or if you're a big Twitch person, that would turn into people going to your Twitch page and checking you out also. So I think that might be a safer route to do also, you know. Just, I don't know who replaced Duke, because Duke used to do that kind of stuff on the YouTube channel quite a bit. But we probably need to get back to maybe doing that maybe like once a month or once a quarter. It doesn't need to be too rampant.
Yeah. No, I think it's a good call. I mean, that was something that Duke handled, you know, doing that, and I thought that was a lot of fun. So yeah, we'll have to see. Any last comments there, Blame the Tank?
No, that's all. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much for coming on. I appreciate it. Ooh, I like questions like that.
Streaming questions are fun.
That's right. That's right.
They're close to home, brother.
That's right. Oh yeah, for sure. Let's go ahead and bring in what we got. Chaos Prime. Chaos Prime, welcome to Smite Talk. How's it going? Chaos Prime with us. Okay, you're out. Next.
I recognize the name. I was playing Transformers Universe, which is a poopy game, but I was going to get someone named Chaos.
How old are you? How old are you? Poopy. I'm like, I'm playing
a Smite game.
I'm playing with like a 3-year-old. Poopy. It was a poopy game. All right, let's bring in the hippie. The hippie, welcome to Smite Talk. How's it going? The hippie. We'll give it a second. Sometimes they're delayed.
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, welcome to Smite Talk. What do you want to talk about tonight? You still there?
Rip.
You forget that the F2 button. There you are. The hippie, you still there? There you are. Hold down the button, dude. You gotta hold down the button.
Yeah. I don't use reticle that much.
That's okay. What's your question?
Well, I figured we'd talk a bit about balance, maybe. Well, I have a lot of things to talk about, Warriors related, mostly. Balancing, sports, that sort of stuff.
Okay, so what exactly about balance?
Well, like the place they're in right now, and the perception that a lot of people have about them, and how they're balanced.
Okay.
Like, a prime example of that is like, you were talking about Osiris earlier.
Okay.
How you think he should be a warrior, I mean an assassin. What about you? Osiris speaks to you, he's an assassin.
What is that noise? I hear this like bzzz. Must be on the hippie's microphone. It's like bzzz.
It could be my side, yeah.
Bzzz. Okay, so who do you think needs to be balanced? Who do you think needs to be balanced specifically?
Well, whoa, is that me or?
Yeah, that's you. That's all you.
Oh wow! I need to get a better mic then. Did you hear that part that I said about Osiris? Or
no.
did I broke up? Oh, okay. Well, then we'll do that again. Like the place they're in and how they're balanced, because I feel like the perception and how they're balanced in that way is very different, even among Hi-Rez. Like,
okay.
You were talking about Osiris earlier, that you feel that he should be an assassin.
Yeah.
What about Osiris feels as an assassin like you, to you?
Okay. So I'll throw it to FG first, man. I mean, what do you think about how...
That was your thing. I think Osiris is a great warrior.
What I mean by that is, what are your thoughts on how they go ahead and balance gods? As in, they come out with a god, they find the god needs some adjustments, and then they make adjustments, and they try to balance that god. What are your thoughts there?
I'm not sure if I really understood his question too much, but when it comes to warriors themselves, I think the balance is actually in a pretty decent spot. I mean, you're always going to have an outlier like an Osiris for a time, right? And so we're so deep into the tournament scene right now that I think Hi-Rez is kind of being very cautious on what they do with Osiris. But I'm really okay with the balance of the gods when it comes to warriors specifically.
Okay.
A lot of people think Sun Wukong is dead, but He's not dead. He might not be the best support. He might not be the best solo, but he's darn good in Siege and he's darn good in Arena. This kind of goes back to what you said before. Not everything needs to be balanced in Conquest.
Yeah.
Vamana is still in the game. Odin might not be top pick, but he's definitely a pick that can change the course of a game.
Yeah.
Right? He's still viable in a hole that you can plug him in. And I feel like gods like that are completely okay to have in the game. And that pretty much covers all the warrior. Who else is there? I talked about Odin. I talked about Osiris, Sun Wukong, Odin, Vamana. Who else is there?
You got Chalk.
Chalk.
You got Hercules.
There's also that tier guy.
Sun Wukong. Yeah.
Tier. Okay, so Tier's one guy that kind of fell off. He definitely did fall off a little bit, but at the same time, he's fantastic in Arena and Siege. Like, he's so easy to blink out of that Siege jungle and gank with. So I don't know, man. I think Hi-Rez is doing a really, really good job on the warrior balance. Like I said, there's always going to be outliers, but for the most part, as a whole, you can still pick a god and do fantastic with them. It might not be that mode, but there's still somebody that's going to prove me wrong and say Sun Wukong is amazing in Conquest, and the fact that he's able to do that speaks accolades to the balance in the game.
Yeah, sometimes the way that Hi-Rez is going ahead and making adjustments and critiquing things, like when there's an issue with XYZ god, or then the problems, like here, like with Scylla when with like her ultimate or whatever, if you have a problem with it and you know that, like, oh wow, that ability is too strong, I feel like Hi-Rez sometimes doesn't touch that ability but corrects other abilities in hopes that it will balance out the god. And I don't know the stats behind it, I don't have the info behind it and stuff like that, but from an outside perspective, it always drives me nuts because I see an issue, like I see where there's a problem with the god and where they're so good, and then they dance around it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's not the issue with the god. The problem with the god is here. But yet you're making corrections here. So sometimes it's myself being biased towards it, and I don't have the stats to support it, I will have to say. But that's just from my perspective on the way they sometimes balance things.
Yeah,
Guan is dead, though. Guan's dead. Sorry.
Yeah, Guan is very dead. But the same goes for Hades. Like, I personally really love the nerf to Hades' 3.
Yeah.
And not because he needed it, but because that 3 made him a buff stomper. When they nerf the 3, they can start buffing him in other places to make him more viable.
Okay.
And on just balancing of warriors to Shogun, like, the whole reason they were in the support role to begin with is just because, not because they were necessarily better, but because they just had superior clear.
Yeah.
You needed to clear fast, you needed to get to the mid camps. The mid camps were up every 90 seconds. And Guardians before that could easily do that because they had Hand of the Gods. They could clear the entire wave and head over there.
I miss those days.
Yeah. And the same thing goes for the solo, because originally Hawk was nerfed to decrease the overall dominance of warriors in the solo lane. But it didn't really do that, because you still had Tyr. Tyr actually benefited from it, because Tyr was, like, for the longest time the lord of the solo lane. Nothing could really beat him there.
Yeah.
And that was for a very simple reason that they nerfed Hawk. Because one made minced meat of Tyr. Wukong could beat Tyr easily, but those nerfs made them unviable in that role. Like, we can say that Wukong can still solo, but he can't. Like, Cudgel does 240 damage.
Yeah.
And overall warrior abilities, I feel like it could also have been solved by decreasing the base damages that they have, because the base damage is incredibly high. Decrease the base damage on pretty much every ability of them, for the most of them. Like, you have Chalk running around with a torrent that does 320 damage.
Okay.
Like, put that down to 280, give it 70% scaling. The same goes for the Cudgel, like, give that 250 and let it scale higher. Because that's exactly what the patch notes said, pretty much. That they wanted warriors to itemize towards what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
But it doesn't. They just overall nerfed them.
Yeah, no, I can see that. I can see that for sure. Well, good points there, man. Hippie, I appreciate you calling in.
It was a pleasure.
You have a good night. Thank you. Let's let's go ahead, guys. We'll go ahead. We have a little under 15 minutes here before we go ahead and wrap up the show. We'll take a few more calls here, the best we can. Shout out to a lot of our players over the pond, I like to call it. You know, overseas for sure. I mean,
staying up with us.
There's a lot of people staying up for sure. A lot of people in chat there going ahead and, you know, that are hanging out from over there, you know, 3:30, 4:30 in the morning. You guys are awesome. I mean, that's pretty baller. Let's go ahead and bring in our next caller. Welcome to Smite Talk. How's it going?
Hey, what's up?
Hey, so what do you want to talk about tonight?
Yo.
I was just thinking about talking about Kuang in general.
Go for it.
He's absolutely my favorite god, hands down.
Okay.
But a lot of people don't enjoy him mainly because of his tornadoes and things like that. And so I just wanted to know what you guys feel about, how you guys feel about Kuang, playing with him, against him, as him. What do you guys feel?
Okay, go for it, FG.
I like Kuang, or Kuang, however you're supposed to say his name.
Kuang.
We talked about him a little bit earlier before, and I think he's really, really good at shutting off jungle exits and entryways. Magic Pot Kuang with Squall is like the beastliest thing that you can do. You throw down your 3 on the minion wave, they're dead before the enemy can react. Squall them in the face. You can probably get 2 kills before your Magic Pot's out. But if it doesn't happen, don't blame me. I think he's in a great spot. He's fun to play. He has a spot in every freaking mode, arena, siege. He can do everything. And when I'm going against him, the thing with Kuang, even when I'm going against him, I feel like I have a chance to kill him. Like I don't feel like I've just completely shut down. So I think Kuang's in a great spot. I can't say that, and this is going to be kind of this is kind of maybe controversial, but not really. I think Ra is a god where I don't like going against like a Ra. I'm okay with Kuang.
Is it because of his sustain?
His sustain limits the people that can go against him. Like I said before, I like playing Nijas mid a little bit, which is a dumb thing to do, but I can't do it if Ra is healing himself and his minion wave. I'm like, oh crap, now I can't clear the wave now because they're healed again, and now I'm pushed under my tower. But when it's Kuang, I still feel like I have a chance to fight him back. I can poke him, I can attack. So playing against him, I have no problems with Mr. AO.
Yeah, I think Kuang is in a great spot right now. Like, I don't think anything needs to be changed about Kuang. He's a glass cannon. His tornado gives him the ability to go ahead and actually sustain in mid. It allows him to clear, which is great. He doesn't have the sustain Ra does. Ra has the sustain and then also has the lane clear, which is great and viable. So it makes him great for solo lane. But yeah, I mean, Kuang right now, I wouldn't change a thing about him.
And that black hair, the legendary skin, awesome. Looks fantastic.
Anything else you want to talk about?
One thing I wanted to say is I'm starting off a small channel with my friends, mainly based around Smite.
Sweet.
Would it be okay if I were to sort of promote that?
Go for it.
Quick?
Go for it. All yours.
I think you already did.
All right. Well, we're called Inscrutable Gamers mainly because we're unsolvable. We're not a big group. We've got 10 videos at the maximum. What we do is we're very uncut. We're not that great, but we're sort of an investment. What we do is we're genuine. Every conversation we have is real, and if you guys just want to see a couple of guys hanging out having fun, feel free to look us up, Inscrutable Gamers on YouTube.
Excellent, man. Well, best of luck with that, and thank you very much for calling in.
Thanks for having me.
Take care.
Awesome. All right, let's go ahead here. Grab our next caller. Next caller is Skull. Skull, welcome to Smite Talk. How's it going?
Good. How's it going to you?
Good. So what do you want to talk about tonight?
Well, I've been hearing the entire chat I've been hearing tonight has a lot of bad hate on a Hades.
Yep.
Now, I want to talk about it a little bit before the patch, before it got nerfed.
Okay.
Now, I did some stupid things with him. I did jungle Hades.
Okay.
And
go for it. It's cool.
Yeah, he's really weak early in the game, but people didn't expect him. Like I was able to leave the solo lane. I jumped into mid. I got the first blood on mid like 3 minutes in, and I just kept running around the map, just keep jumping on people in minion waves. And I think the reason why they nerfed his damage to gods was because for that exact reason, you could have a bunch of damage and you would just wreck anybody in the minion wave. Like I remember just using my what is it, the silence, and then
Correct.
in the minion wave, and he would just pop his Devour Souls. I remember the ice is just melting, and I didn't even have to pop my ultimate. It was...
Yeah, that was a really strong thing for Hades. He was probably one of the more unique gods where he could jump into a full minion wave, archers, melee, everybody, jump into a full wave, put blight on every single one of them, kill all of them, heal from it, and do a ton of damage to somebody that was in the minion wave. Like that was it was actually pretty insane, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen Hades played as jungle in the casual queue from time to time, and it works. When you start to get up to like ranked and like a little bit higher in ranked and competitive, something like that I don't see working. I don't see like Lassus going ahead and pulling out Hades jungle like you would with Athena. I think the way his kit is built, it lends to being able to do exactly what you did in a casual aspect for sure, and it pays off for sure. I mean, going ahead, diving into lane with your death from below, going ahead, popping Shroud of Darkness, using Pillars of Agni to go ahead, and then finishing off with Devourers.
Octane knows all the ability names of Hades.
And going ahead and like finishing it with Devourer of Souls to finish that off, just in case you haven't, is great for ganking. Like, does so well, and it pays off. And it's sustainable if they don't have beads. Or they don't have the Aegis. But if they do, it's like beads, jump out, done. So I feel like it's a little bit, it works in some aspects. It will, or if they use their ult with or without it. But I think in a lower casual setting, it'll work. No problem. But I don't think as you get to higher skilled players, it's going to work. Because in lower skilled players aren't going to be able to pop that beads right away. It takes them a second. Or they don't know, oh, my ultimate may, depending on the god, may make me immune so I can go ahead and escape. You know what I mean? So it's kind of, it works, it doesn't work. But in your situation, like you talked about, it's so successful. I think it works. I mean, hey, if you get away with it, do it. But as you get to a higher skill set, it's not going to work.
Yeah, like, he doesn't have a very good early game because his Devour Souls doesn't do that much damage. He could be getting Hog, but if he were to get Hog, he wouldn't be getting health and mana pots, and not getting those, he's not going to be in the jungle for very long.
Yeah.
That puts him back. But I mean, with the patch nerfing Polynomicon too, like, you don't even have to dive in if you don't upgrade your damage. You could just use a blink or a sprint or whatever, use your silence, hit your 3, use a poly, and they just die.
Yep.
It was just amazing.
Those are always the great games, but at the same time, when you're all done with that game, you go, yeah, I should have been matched up in this game. Like, matchmaking didn't work the best way it should have. So I can completely understand. Any last comments for us or questions?
No, I'll just keep watching the stream.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you calling in.
All right, see you later.
All right, let's go ahead and take our last call for tonight.
Neith is my legendary. I don't know all of her ability names.
FG.
I think there's Unravel in there, maybe, and there's.
Here's what I want to know. How do you? Here's what I want to know. How do you go ahead? 1, go ahead and master Neith, and then 2, go ahead and create a video on her reveal and her abilities, and not know all of them. The third one, her third ability, backflip, has the most generic name out there because it's exactly what she does.
All right. I didn't think I knew what her 2 was, but it's Unravel.
Yep.
But I can't remember if it's Spirit Arrow or what's her ultimate called.
Her ultimate is her ultimate's World Weaver. And her first ability is Spirit Arrow.
If I was on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and that question popped up, like, oh, a Smite question, I got this. Name Neith's ultimate. I'm like, I'm done. Just call
a friend. Yo, just call a friend. Call a friend. All right, let's go ahead and bring in our last caller for tonight, guys. Let's go ahead and welcome to Smite Talk. How's it going, Nasho?
Hey guys, how's it going?
You are the last caller for tonight. How's that feel?
Pretty good.
All right, so what do you want to talk about?
I would like to ask about the actual meta on League games, because I'm just new on that. I have just played 3 games on League.
Okay, what was your question? I didn't hear the whole thing.
Well, for example, what are the bans, the most convenient bans? Because I see they're changing a lot between games, for example. And how should I proceed when I see the other picks? For example, if I'm going soul lane and I see any kind of warrior like Jack how do I know what should I pick
Okay. So
to be most effective?
Yes. Okay. So you're looking, just so I can summarize your question, you're looking to find out what is the best way to go ahead and counter a god pick that you see is selected on the other team in League. Is that correct?
Yeah, counter pick. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. The big thing is, and the one thing I can say is, as you're playing more and more, you're going to start to notice, especially in draft mode, you're going to start to notice, okay, they selected these gods. Those gods are going to play these roles because that is the meta. That is the most traditional. You will start to know, for example, like, oh, they picked Isis. Well, Isis is going to be playing mid. So if I'm playing mid, yeah, right? Yeah, like what you need to start to look at is, what counters what. And what I mean by that is look at combinations that you see and figure out how you can counter that god the most. Like, FG goes ahead and says, oh, Isis is picked. I'm going to pick up Habwa. Hebo, same person.
Oh yeah, sorry.
It's the same thing with like your solo lane. If you're a solo laner for sure, and you see someone go ahead and pick up Ra, who do I go like? The big thing is identifying. Like, I guess my question for you is do you feel comfortable now when you're looking at the draft pick and you see someone pick a certain god with your experience in Smite right now, do you automatically know like what position they're going to be playing in, or you're still not there yet?
No, I know that.
Okay.
I know that, but I don't know how to counter pick that.
Okay. Any advice for him, FG, at this point?
Yeah, I mean, that all comes with time. You have to just see these things play out. Like, it's something that you just can't rush, and this is the reason why you're only 3 games in the league. That's fine. You're going to learn these things as you go along. There are a lot of things that people are still finding out when it comes to counter picks. But what you need to do is just keep your eyes open. Look at the things that shut you down while you play, and take a look at the other lanes. When someone goes 0-4, it's not necessarily because they were completely bad, right? That's not always the case. Sometimes they just had a really poor matchup and they were going to get someone that was equal skill to them, but then they had a poor matchup, which resulted in them dying more often. So you really need to keep your eyes open on things like, for example, if a Freya's in the jungle, a really good counter to Freya jungle is a Ymir support, believe it or not. Being able to frost a Freya, she's probably going to die before she can even get in the air. And those are things that you just learn by saying, oh crap, I played Freya, and every time I tried to gank that dual lane, this Ymir frosted me and shut me down. Like, those are the things that you just learn over time. There's not a fast track to that unless you just go to a website, which I don't know if there's any websites that exist that have counters, or you go into streams and hang out with D and Brandon and drive or things like this.
Yeah.
But it's just gonna have to be something that you just keep learning and you keep learning.
Yeah, I mean, I can agree there. Like, someone like I would say it comes from experience and from learning it. And the big thing is it comes from running into a situation where you completely get rolled over and you're like, wow, so this god versus this god does not work. I should not go ahead and do that. That's one way you learn. The second way you learn is definitely looking at, watching other streamers and their discussions. For example, like DM Brandon, great selection there. Dry Bear, great selection there. SNK is a great person to watch as well. Watch these people. Some people are saying Smite Camp in chat. I've been on that site once or twice. Check it out. Never seen it. SmiteCamp.com.
Haven't seen it.
But check it out. Listen to their streams. They will discuss it. Like, DM Brandon will go ahead and discuss, okay, like a great counter to Aphrodite is Chunga with Divine Ruin, because it helps with that healing or mitigation reduction there. So that's just some things that you start to pick up and you start to get from the game. So I'm going to say, people are saying, check out Smite Camp. It does list the counters on there. Great resource, it sounds like. I have not used it before, but go check it out. And the second thing is try to check out some of the videos that some of these people like Ep.25 and other YouTubers are putting out that discuss some of those things. I think that's your best one to move forward with.
Okay, I'll do that. How do you say it? Smite Camp.
Smite Camp.
Right?
Yep. It's in chat. It's SmiteCamp.com. It's in the Twitch chat, and you'll be able to find it there. Buddha is posting it in the Twitch chat there. Check it out, and we'll have to let us know how that works out for you.
Okay, I'll do it.
Thanks
a lot, guys.
Thank you very much. Well, guys, it is 10 o'clock. That ends our show this week. FG, these shows go so quick, dude. They go so quick.
Oh, dude, I have a blast, man.
Bam! Bam! Done. Well, folks, we'd like to, thank you guys for coming on. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the show. We kind of brought back this show just the other week, and it's been doing really well so far. Raid Call is filled every week now, which is exactly what we want to see. If you guys don't get a chance to call in, you physically are not in a spot that you can, or you call in, we don't get to your call, email the show, and we'll talk.
Email us.
Yeah, and we'll talk about it, your question, just like we did with Natalie this week. smitetalk@gmail.com, and we'll definitely read it on stream and talk about it for sure. Once again, we thank Hi-Rez Studios for going ahead and allowing us to have Smite Talk on their channel. Very much thank you to Hi-Rez. Smite Talk airs every week at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern, give or take, depending on Smite update and how long it goes, on twitch.tv/SmiteGame. If you guys are viewing this on iTunes, the audio-only version, thank you guys. We love the audio-only audience. And please go within iTunes and do a little review of the show. Just give it 5-star reviews and do like a 1-sentence review. Please give us those 5 stars. They go ahead and help to raise up the show on the rankings as well. And I'll throw it over to you, FG. Where can people check you out when you're not on Smite Game?
You can check me out every weekday on my YouTube channel. Actually, you can check me out 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on my YouTube channel, since the videos just live there without me doing anything. But I upload new videos every single day. Hopefully, Buddha drops that in the chat for you where you can find me out. But if you're listening to the radio show, it's www.youtube.com/fitnessgamer3000.
Fitness geek, right? Fitness geek.
I hate you so much.
Guys, the next streamer. Oh, look at that tier monster. Look at that ferocious. Yo, all right. Here's my call out to tier monster. Where's my shirt, guys? Where's my tier monster shirt? Where's it at? That's right. That's right. That's right. Anyways, guys, thank you guys very much for joining us. Stay tuned. Little Mamacita, is my understanding, will be up next. You guys can check me out. I will be back on Smite Game tomorrow night covering for Fats from 10 to 1 a.m. tomorrow night. So I will be here. We'll be doing viewer games. So come on out, strut your stuff, show us how good you are. 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern to 1 o'clock a.m. I will be streaming. And we will see you guys next week. Take care, folks.
Later, y'all.